The night, 20 roads completed so far under the $1 million CAF-funded program. Youth unemployment in Barbados still more than double the national average. Jamaica youth still undecided on who to vote for in the upcoming general elections. And in sports, Calvin Hope is the new BCA president.
The headline news is brought to you by National Transformation Initiative, shaping the Starbajan.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you for tuning in. In our top story tonight, more than 20 roads have so far been completed, while others are in progress, as the Ministry of Transport and Works delivers on a $100 million CAF-funded program to rehabilitate Barbados's road network. That's according to Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works, Santia Bradshaw. The Minister and staff of the Ministry's technical team were updating the media on the various road works being undertaken.
Currently, we have ongoing the Prior Park roads, the Shop Hill to Content, Kindergarten to Bridgefield areas. We also have a number of projects under the roller compacted concrete program as well under the CAF program. Now, to date, from that 100 million, we have actually spent about 26 million on the roads that have been completed and the roads that are currently in progress. We have about 26 roads that have been completed.
Ms. Bradshaw admits challenges remain, especially delays, but she says they're no fault of the contractors.
Yes, we have had some delays on all of the roadworks programs, and many of those challenges relate to the coordination with the utilities from time to time. Electricity poles may have to be removed, that you find that there is a delay in relation to the construction of the road. And of course, climate and weather has certainly become another difficulty for a lot of these projects, whereby we are at the mercy of the climate from time to time, particularly as we embark on the rainy season as well.
The Minister of Labour, Colin Jordan, is urging employers to give young people their first shot at work and in some cases a second or even third chance. He made the remarks this morning while welcoming partners and stakeholders to a special meeting at the Sandals Hotel to strengthen Job Start Plus, an initiative aimed at bridging the gap between job seekers and employers. Minister Jordan says everyone has a role to play in creating a safe place for the youth.
If everybody you thought was unsuitable was left, as we say, at the side of the road, what quality of life you would experience, not enjoy, because the enjoyment of life would disappear if a large number of people were left at the side of the road. And I think you understand exactly what I'm saying, particularly at this point when we have upsurges in crime. I say that not to ask you to do anything that would put your business at risk, but to recognize that there is a responsibility on the shoulders of all of us to give people a first chance, in some cases a second chance, in some cases a third chance.
Meanwhile, youth unemployment in Barbados remains more than double the national average, and the Ministry of Labour says that's a national concern. Government figures show that in 2023, 21.4% of Barbadians aged 15 to 24 were unemployed, compared to under 6% for the wider population. Minister Jordan noted that while the program gives participants 3 weeks of workplace readiness training before placing them in jobs for 12 months, the requirements from many employers make it almost impossible for young people to start.
If we recognize the frustration that we ourselves experience, then we can understand a little bit better the frustration that some of our young people will experience when we ask them for 12 months of experience, but nobody has given them the opportunity to get 1 day of experience. And that is why I will stress that youth unemployment is not just a young people thing. And here I have to speak as a minister and as a member of the cabinet. Youth unemployment and reducing it is an economic imperative.
Public service vehicle owners are being reminded that by law they are not allowed any tint on their vehicles. Director of Citizen Engagement and Media Relations in the Prime Minister's office, Roy Morris, says PSV owners have been coming forward for checks, but testing them would send the wrong message. He explains that PSVs, including minibuses and ZRs, are registered without tint, but some operators add tint, which is in breach of the law.
So we have people from the public, the minibus and the PSV fraternity, who come in and they ask to be tested and they're upset. Well, as far as we know, and our instructions are, the law says PSVs are not to have any tint. When they go to MTW to be registered, they don't have on a tint, but they put on a tint afterward. So we are not going to test the vehicle or the level of tint on it because by law there's not supposed to be a tint.
Mr. Morris also responded to concerns raised about vehicles with factory built-in tint.
There's a number of issues also that have arisen in relation to whether or not people have vehicles that have come from the manufacturers with tint. What I have found and what many of those who are testing have found is that yes, vehicles came in or do come in with a stain from the manufacturers. But if you already come in with a 15% stain or 20% stain, and you have now put on top of that a tint film, then clearly you're going to fall outside of the law.
Coming up, the Home Affairs Minister stressed the need to be prepared for public health challenges. Barbados' Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrams, says the region can no longer afford to learn after the fact when it comes to disaster response. Speaking at the launch of the Caribbean Emergency and Disaster Medicine Center at Ross University, he stressed that preparedness is the only way to limit the devastating impact of natural disasters. Mr. Abrams pointed to lessons from Hurricanes Elsa and Beryl and the COVID-19 pandemic, which exposed gaps in health readiness. He says Barbados has already made strides toward hurricane preparedness, but the next step is anticipating and tackling public health challenges before they happen.
Imagine if we knew what to expect and what to prepare for before they happen, which is why I think your said MED project is critical. As with everything else, we have to know what we are going to do before it happens. That's the best way. Bajans say prevention is better than a quick cure. They say a stitch in time saves 9. We have all sorts of sayings and euphemisms to say be as ready as you can be. So rather than us chasing after a hurricane, when we think of a hurricane, we think of a disaster, we think of the immediate things, houses blown down, flooding, whatnot. But when all that is cleared up, or as long as it takes to clear up, then other things emerge.
The minister lauded the efforts of the school for the many projects and programs they've undertaken.
Congratulate Ross University. You've come to Barbados and you've made your impact felt. You're not just an overseas school operating in Barbados. You have definitely become a good corporate citizen. You've definitely spread your wings to make your impact felt. You've done the outreach programs I know that you've done with pressure testing and other things in the communities. So I welcome this as another initiative by what I consider a true Barbadian partner.
After returning from a 7-year break and winning multiple prizes this Grand Kadument, band leader Quincy Jones wants to see more young people becoming band leaders and designers. Mr. Jones says there are not enough young people coming forward to continue the work and legacy of those such as Gwyneth Squires and Renee Radcliffe, who are no longer in the game. Speaking on CBC TV 8's Morning Barbados, Mr. Jones says he is willing to work with younger people who want to learn the trade.
It hurts me too because of Renee Radcliffe as well, yes, because she used to design for me as well. And me cheering on the jumpers on stage, it had a little bit emotional because that is how I would learn how to bring on the bands, by Gwyneth, by Renee, by Betty. So by seeing them absent, it had this this moment I was like, whoa, I'm reliving something for other persons. So I hope that I'm encouraging persons, young people, to get involved in masquerading. I know a lot of young people are into junior modern and into singing for the calypso. I would like now to see more young people now into the masquerading.
Mr. Jones, who says he took the 7-year break from masquerading to study and reflect, won Large Band of the Year, among other prizes, for his band Zenobia. He says he is happy and humbled to win the prizes and had a good experience on the relatively new Grand Kadument route.
It had its space, for sure, by Pelican for the trots and stuff, but I still find that the majority of persons was, there was a dead period between Pelican and Eagle Hall, where persons, just a few persons, but you see when you get Eagle Hall, the streets was where the action was. And no matter how much you change your route, it just seems that that particular route there is the hype for crop over. So I enjoyed the route. For us, our experience was 10 out of 10. But I don't know what would be the other experiences for the other bands.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Well, let's head over to Mark Seal now, who's standing by live in the sports studio with all the details. Good evening, Mark.
Very good evening. Kelvin Hope is the new president of the Barbados Cricket Association. Hope, who was the standing vice president, defeated the 3 other challengers in a landslide victory last night. CBC's Anmar Goodrich-Boyce reports.
From as early as 5 p.m., this was the scene on the 2nd floor of the 3W stand at Kensington Oval, where BCA members and club delegates gathered for what was a highly anticipated presidential election and annual general meeting. It was the climax of 2 weeks of campaigning for the top position in local cricket after long-standing President Conde Riley announced his decision to step down from the post he held since 2017. It was a 4-man race featuring Jeff Brooms, Henderson Wallace, Philo Wallace, and Kelvin Hope. And after a 2-hour-long meeting, Hope was declared as the new president after securing 158 votes. Henderson Wallace totaled 68, Philo Wallace gained 57, while Jeff Brooms got 13. Speaking to the media after, Hope said his focus is on reshaping the BCA to be efficient while improving cricket.
I've said in my manifesto that we need to do some resetting, but we have to work on the strategic plan for our cricket. You have to pull the board, get the board together, and immediately put some committees in place, and we will review the secretariat, making it more responsive. We want to build unity. That is the main focus in our cricket.
Hope also outlined his plans to develop the youth.
There's a lot of talent. We want to keep that talent. We want to look at overseas tours. We want to look at outside of our normal fixturing and the regional cricket, providing opportunities for the youth to continue playing together, more competitive cricket, and most of all, a lot of training, coaching, and upping the ante for the training and the motivation of these players.
There was also a keen battle on for the position of secretary, with Senator Gregory Nichols winning with 157 votes, defeating Joanne Haynes, who got 125.
And we are looking now to roll out a new strategic plan in terms of taking youth cricket to another level. We're talking now about not a centre of excellence, but a high-performance structure so that we can really improve the individual performances of our cricketers when they play for franchises, when they play for, whether it be the Barbados franchise in the regional tournament or all of the other franchise cricket that is available, and of course West Indies cricket.
The 3 directors are Carlos Braffett, 185 votes, Henderson Wallace, 142, and Winston Haynes, 119. Anmar Goodrich-Boyce, CBC Sports.
A century from skipper Gabson Bowens has led defending champions Barbados to first innings lead over hosts Trinidad and Tobago in their drawn opening match of the West Indies Rising Stars men's under-17 two-day championship. Playing at Ancient Alley Park, Barbados under-17s resumed their first innings on 5-for-1 in response to TNT's 252 for 8 declared. Then Barbados declared on 257 for 9, a lead of just 5. Boynes notched 111 that included 9 fours and 2 sixes. Trinidad's under-17s batted out the remainder of the final day, ending on 89 for 3 in their second innings. So Barbados' next game now is against Jamaica. This will be on Saturday. West Indies and Barbados all-rounder Jason Holder has been appointed captain of the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots for the 2025 Caribbean Premier League. The move marks a major shift for Holder, who ends a 13-year tenure with the Barbados Royals, a franchise he joined in the inaugural CPL season in 2013. Now, during his time with the Royals, Holder was instrumental in the team's success, helping them secure 2 CPL titles in 2014 and again in 2019, the latter under his leadership. Holder's arrival signals a fresh chapter for the Patriots, who struggled in the 2024 season with just 1 win in 10 games. However, Holder says he doesn't see this as a hard task to face.
One of the things I'm very big on, is team camaraderie. And I think if we can understand each other as individuals, quite early, more often than not under pressure, I guess that's a really true character show. So if you're able to help your teammates under pressure, then I think more often than not you'll be able to get yourselves over the line. For us, it's just taking it 1 game at a time. I think so often, you get too far ahead of yourselves, and sometimes you get too high, and a lot of times, sometimes you get too low. So just staying as calm and as level as you possibly can, and just making sure that energy is throughout the entire group, and everybody understands what the common goal is. And obviously our common goal is to lift the trophy. But there's a process to that. There's steps to that, and I think once we start well, I think we've got a tough schedule here in the first leg at home, 5 games in probably 6-7 days, and then the game in Antigua on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. But I think if we can go through this first phase, not too much damage, winning a few games, it obviously puts us in really good stead going into the deeper half of the competition. Another thing you don't want to do is peak too early, and then fade. So, look, I'm very confident with the team, very happy with the team, very happy with the management staff. This is my first time, as I said before, and then, look, everybody's made me feel really welcome. I haven't had any hiccups, so I'm looking forward to a really good tournament.
A fantastic introduction to the market and a breakthrough for business. That's how the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry sees the new BIME initiative launched by the Governor of the Central Bank yesterday. BCCI President Paul Innes called it a game changer that will facilitate speedy transactions and improve cash flow while being innovative.
It will be a fantastic introduction to the market. I can see one of the benefits will be a reduction in the cost of transactions. So if you think about it, currently a lot of us use Visa and debit cards that have charges attached to them. It basically eliminates that particular cost of doing business. So you can then expect a certain level of efficiency, and efficiency doesn't only pertain to the ease of doing business, but also the operational costs associated with doing business in Barbados, and therefore that actually will down to the benefit of the consuming public and the business community.
Technological development has already made dynamic contributions to capital markets, making them more accessible and decentralized. The observation came from Managing Director of the Barbados Stock Exchange, Marlon Yard, as he discussed the topic, how technology is changing the landscape. He said the scale of the impact depends on the stakeholder, and with this in mind, some clear distinctions should be made, particularly between traditional players such as stock exchanges and emerging upstarts in the capital market. On a fundamental basis, the BSE head noted that traditional capital markets rely on mandated intermediaries such as brokers, banks, and exchanges. He said collectively, stakeholders are adapting to a constantly changing financial landscape.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Well, let's throw it back over to Mark now for the second half in sports. Mark.
Thank you very much. Barbados squash players missed out on reaching the medal round at the women's doubles at the Pan Am Junior Games in Paraguay today. The duo of Ebony Adley and Sumaira Suleiman first won their round of 16 match against a team from Chile, coming from a game down to win 7-11, 11-10, 11-6. However, in the quarterfinals, Adley and Suleiman went down to a pair from Guatemala, 2 straight, 4-11, 1-11. Meanwhile, in swimming, Victor Ashby was third in Heat 1 of the men's 100-meter freestyle. His time was 25.18 seconds, so he didn't qualify for the A or the B final. In football, Barbadian Thierry Gale scored his first goal since joining Bolton Wanderers, but it wasn't enough to send his side through to the second round of the Carabao Cup. The 10-man Wanderers team lost 4-2 on penalties against championship team Sheffield Wednesday this evening, after the sides were locked 3-3 at the end of 90 minutes. Bolton were trailing 2-1 before substitute Gale produced the equalizer in the 77th minute with a neat finish from inside the box. Reece Johnson restored the lead for Wednesday 3 minutes later before Mario Cosio-Duberry found the equalizer in the 90th. However, Sheffield Wednesday went on to win on penalties. West Indies head coach Darren Sammy has dismissed ongoing criticism of his leadership, stating that his sole focus is on advancing the regional team's performance across all formats. Sammy made the remarks following the West Indies' historic one-day international series victory over Pakistan yesterday, when they secured a dominant 202-run win in the third and final match to seal the series 2-1. That triumph marked the Windies' first bilateral ODI series win against Pakistan in 34 years. Now, Sammy made it clear that he remains undeterred by outside noise and is fully committed to the team's long-term progress.
I know what I'm trying to do, what we as a team, the goal we set out for ourselves. I don't equate one person or a couple of persons who have a platform talking about West Indies cricket as the opinion of all these fans you see coming out to watch. You know, you see what a victory does for the West Indian people. You know, all these people who come in the stands, they don't have a voice, a social media voice where they speak. They still come out and support the guys. So for me, understanding the purpose, understanding why I'm here, why my team is here, and we put our heads down and we come to every day and try and put an honest work. I've never been one to actually listen to noise. You know, this has been me throughout my career. When I was playing, when I was captain, and now that I'm coach, everything I've done early has built me and prepared me for what's going on now.
Sammy said that while he has a clear goal for what he wants the West Indies to achieve, he is also realistic about how long it might take to reach that goal. And in more cricket news, St. Michael defeated St. George by 5 wickets in a low-scoring match of the Block T20 League to cement their place at the top of the South Zone. Batting first, St. George were bowled out for just 57 in 13.3 overs. Shamar Marshall was brilliant, taking 5 for 6. Redon Bellamy was the only player to reach double figures with 20 not out. CBC's Damian Best reports on that innings.
St. George sent into bat by St. Michael. Jaden Webster first to go. LBW to Shamar Marshall for a 3-ball duck. 1 for 1. Shaquille Green only added 2. And then skipper Aaron Weeks got his walking papers, bowled by Chase for just 1. More carnage. Miles Allen stumps disturbed by Marshall for 1. It's now 4 for 5. The strategy is to survive at this point for St. George. Todd Miller didn't get the memo, bowled without scoring. 5 for 5 in just the third over. They weren't picking Marshall at all. Cody Holder naughty, playing across the line, eye candy for the bowler. 15 for 6. 6 runs later, you know what's coming. The Manny Roach middle stump reclined, bowled down for 4. The demolition man Marshall does it again. 21 now for 7. A splendid bit of fielding from Jai Clark led to the demise of Richard Sampson. Keeps his eyes on the prize and gobbles it up in the deep. Superb. Sampson made 7, 26 for 8. Alan Payne somehow didn't find the middle of the bat. Jordan Jones at cover holds on. He goes for 4, 45 for 9. The final wicket to fall was that of Damar Graham. Wild swing, castled for 2. St. George all out for 57 in 13.3 overs.
And that's our news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.